Hi, this is Rachel from Little Bird Quilting, and in this video we are going to be creating our 5th block in our Big Block series, Bear Claw. In this block I used a solid red, a textured red, and my gray background, and boy howdy am I excited. This is block number 5. We only have one more block, block number 6 to finish. And that means just one more week and we're gonna have a whole quilt. So this is the time I usually start thinking about how I want to quilt my finished quilt. I'm thinking for this one, with the solid bright colors and the gray background, that something kind of modern would be a good quilting design. So if you have any ideas, go ahead and give that information to me in the comments below. So let's get started on block number 5, Bear Claw. So to make this bear claw paw block, we need one solid red square that's 3 inches by 3 inches. We need 8 squares of solid red that are 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. We need 4 textured red squares that are 5 inches by 5 inches. We need 8 squares of gray, that's our gray background, that are 3 1/8 by 3 1/8, and we're going to draw a diagonal line on all of those because those are what we're going to use to make our half square triangles. We need 4 rectangles that are 7 1/4 by 3 inches in our gray background. Then we need 4 squares that are 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 of our gray background. So let's get started. So I went ahead and made our half square triangles already. And for this block, I tend to get my claws going the wrong direction. So I have to lay them out or they end up looking like they're not supposed to. So this is the bear paw portion of our block. For each of our blocks, we need to create 4 of this unit. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this unit together. I'm going to be putting these 2 bear claw tips together. And I have my sewing machine set to 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to open that back up and it goes right there. I'm going to go ahead and press a lot more than I normally do for other blocks, just because for this one to really get everything to lay correctly, you need to press as you go. Also, the one thing I normally don't do that I did do for this block is when I made my half square triangles, I actually opened up the seam. And the reason I did this is I made this block once with the seams, you know, going one direction with the half square triangles, and it just didn't look right. I was losing too many points. It just didn't work. So I did another one and I opened up the seams and it just looked so much better. It laid flatter. The pieces just fit together much better. So that's why I decided I was going to do that. And there are the 2 portions of the paw. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my gray square, which is a 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 inch square at the top right here along these 2. And I'm going to flip it over just because I always want to start sewing at the seam. If one end doesn't have a seam and one end does, I'm going to start sewing at the side that has the seam. Let's get that done. And then I'm going to press. So now I'm going to put this side, these 2 claw points on my paw. Get that lined up. And now for this part, I'm going to press. My seam allowance is going towards the center of the paw. Now I'm going to take this portion and put him on, and I'm going to nest my seams together for this first section where they meet up. And let's get that sewn together and get that lined up at the other end. And there we have one of the 4 paws that we need. And I just ironed it the wrong direction. I want my seam allowance going towards the center of the paw. So I need to get him going the right way. Sometimes it doesn't want to do it, but it makes a big difference as to how the block lays when it's pressed this way. All right, so there is one of our 4 sections, and I went ahead and made the rest of them as well. So here's our second one, and then we've got 3rd one and then a 4th one. And we're laying them out with all the paws going out, and this, you know, they're all pointed out. I mean, you can rotate them around if you wanted to make it look a little different. You could put them like 2 pointed in and 2 pointed out, but I wanted to stick with, I think it's basically the traditional way with them all pointed out. So we're going to rotate those around. So I'm going to connect 2 paws to a center gray, 2 paws to a center gray, then I'm going to do a gray, red, gray. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Get this gray strip on here. And I have had a couple questions about my sewing table. This is a Horn brand sewing cabinet, and I was just very, very, very fortunate that a quilter, local quilter, was selling it, and they had put a flyer at the local quilt store, and I was able to get it. So it's used, but she kept it very nice because they are a rather higher price cabinet, but it is absolutely fabulous. I just love it. And having your sewing machine recessed in a cabinet, it's just, you know, better for your shoulders. It just makes a lot of things a lot easier. So let me get the center section sewn together. And I'm excited because we only have 1 more week and we'll be done with this quilt. So I'm very excited about that. So this is our center section. Now let's sew the top portion together. And remember, you're going to have to make 5 of these, 5 of this block, if you want to make the whole quilt like I have it laid out. And if you want to see that, you can see a layout of the whole quilt and how I have the blocks positioned at littlebirdquilting.com. You go to the downloads, and then below the download is a tab that says Big Block Quilt, and you click on that and it'll show you a picture of the whole layout. So let's go ahead and get this one, get that lined up a little better. Now when we're pressing these sections, I'm pressing towards the center gray. And then for the center section, I'm going to press towards the red. Oh no, I'm not going to press towards the red. I'm pressing towards the gray. Haha. There we go. Okay. You always want to make sure you press. You know, you can slide your iron around, but make sure you've lifted it up a little bit because you don't want to push the fabric in different directions. Then this goes in. Flip that around, get him. Alrighty. So now I'm going to attach the center section, and because I have the seams going the opposite direction, they kind of nest together, so you can get those lined up. Then I'm going to start at this end, make sure everything's staying lined up, and you can pin. I'm not a big pinner. I pin every once in a while, or when I've done multiple blocks of the same block and it just doesn't work without me not pinning. But not using pins is just, I never really have. And also my cats love my pins, and it worries me that they're going to come over and grab them, or I tend to drop them. So if I don't need to use them, I don't. But there are some blocks that you just have to pin because you just can't keep control of your fabric, because that's the biggest thing. Pins help your fabric stay where they need to be until you can get it stitched. This is our last seam. Get all the way down to the center. Get that one lined up and nested together. Line up this last area. And all the way down to the end. And then we do need to press again, just to get, because it's just not going to lay flat if we don't. Rotate that around. And there we have our Bear Claw block. This is the 5th block in our Big Block series. We just have one more week to go. I hope you're as excited as I am. So this has been block number 5 in our Big Block Quilt series, Bear Paw. So don't forget, you need to make 5 of this block, and we only have one more week left. That'll be our last block. Then we're going to be putting them all together. And don't forget, if you have any ideas of how you would like for me to quilt my quilt, don't forget to put those in the comments below. So I hope everyone's been having a good time making their quilt blocks. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.